Hi there, this is Crystal, and I'm back with my 2019 Project Life album. This is a spread from February, so it's actually towards the beginning of February. I already have my photos printed and dated on the back, and I've kind of laid them out where I want them to go. Since I've done pages before and after this, it kind of needs to fit into this area here. I do have one card. This is a Kelly Perky card from one of her Friday freebie or Freebie Friday emails. And because it was dated February 2019, I stuck it in the album to make sure that I used it. And this is the spread it works best on, so that's why it's right here. As for other supplies, I've dug back into my stash, and I pulled out the Dream On collection from Pinkfresh Studio. This is one of the many Pinkfresh Studio collections I've kind of been hoarding and just keeping all together in a little pouch in my stash. But it's time to get it used. I'm running out of space, so I need to get some of these things used. And I really love this collection. I really love the colors, and it works well with what I have on my page already. I think it will brighten things up since some of these photos are pretty dark. This bright collection will help lighten things up. So that's what I'm going to use. There is probably not enough here to do the full spread. I may have to pull from some other parts of my stash, but we will deal with that when we get to that point. For right now, I am just going to put you on fast forward and get started. So first of all, I'm just going to pull all of these photos out of my album so they're easier to work with. And then I'm going to start going through the papers. I need a 6x8 paper, so that 6x6 pad isn't going to do it. So I have to use one of the few 12x12 papers I have from this collection. And I found two that I thought might work. I really love this kind of minty teal pattern, but this pink one was just too perfect for the pictures that I had to document. These are just, they were Insta stories that my friend who was puppy sitting for us, she took and posted, and I just grabbed a screenshot of them. So they aren't like super great quality prints or anything, but they were fun and they were silly. And so this kind of fun pink background I thought worked really well. It also has a very kind of 80s vibe to me. A lot of this collection does. It makes me want to use it to document some like childhood photos or something. I think that would be fun. But anyway, back to this spread. So I'm also looking for a 4x6 paper. Well, a paper that I can use as a 4x6 card. And again, I thought I might use that teal patterned paper in the smaller size from the 6x6 paper pad, but it felt a little too busy to me, so I'm going to go with something much simpler. It's really hard to see on screen because it's a little bit washed out in the light, but it's just a white paper with little circles that are made up of lines in kind of a grayish, not really black, but kind of a dark gray. But it reads kind of white, but it has some texture in the pattern. Okay, so now I'm going through all of the die cuts, and as I usually do, I'm just plopping things down where I think they might work, and then I'll go back through and edit and pick out the ones I actually want to use on the page here in a minute. But first I need to go through this entire pack, and there are a lot in this pack. I was really surprised how many die cuts were in this package, and there were really good sizes too. So yes, there were some that were larger and kind of hard to fit on the page, but there were lots of really small ones and ones that worked even in these tiny 3x4 pockets. So a really good mix of elements in this die cut pack. And then there was also a cut apart sheet in the 6x6 paper pad that I thought would be really perfect. It's a really good size to use in Project Life if you cut them apart and then you have kind of embellishments to add to your pages. But I didn't find any that really worked well with the photos and stories I had to tell in this spread. So I'm going to set it aside and I'll come back to it and see if I can find anything else here in a minute. I don't end up using any of that though. Right now I'm just backing my photos. I felt like they needed just a little something to make them stand out on that busy background paper. So I used some of that teal pattern paper from the 6x6 pad, the smaller version of it, and backed the one photo. And then I had that little scrap of the neutral paper I used as a 4x6, and I added that to the other photo. It, of course, doesn't fully cover it, so I just kind of overlapped and did two layers using that same teal paper again, and I really like the way that looks. So I'm just going to trim it down and then start playing with embellishments on this side. So I had picked out quite a few that I thought might work. I really liked that large sentiment, but it was just too big for the spot that I had for it. So I end up putting that aside. I pick up the cut apart sheet again to see if there's anything there. I also really loved these houses. They're so like geometric and fun. And because these were taken while she was at our house, puppy sitting while we were away, I thought that would be really perfect. But again, I couldn't make them work. The way that I tried to fit them on the page, they just looked kind of awkward and out of place. So instead, I used a couple circle die cuts that have that same kind of lined pattern as the neutral paper I used on the other side of the spread, and I added those to the photo cluster. And then I'm just going to sprinkle some other smaller embellishments around to fill out the page. So I also edited through the other die cuts I picked out on the other side of the page, and now I'm thinking about journaling and where my story is going to go. So I grabbed this kind of box of labels that I have from Citrus Twist Kits. These are both the cut apart labels and the labels that come in the kit. So I have them all just in a box ready to go anytime I need a label, which is really handy. So I picked out one that went with the colors of this spread, and then I took all three away to my typewriter. So I have the journal card and that 4x6 card, and then the label for the left-hand side of my spread. Typed up all of my journaling on the typewriter all at once, just adhered them all to an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, and ran the whole thing through the typewriter and typed on each one as I got to it. So there is all of my journaling done. I can finally start adhering all the little elements I've chosen. I'm just using my tape runner to add all these little bits to the page, and then I can go back through and do some final embellishing. So I've really been trying to add more journaling to my pages. I felt like in the beginning of the year I didn't do such a great job of storytelling, which is really what my focus was for this year's project life. I really wanted to make sure I was telling full stories, since last year's album was really not very heavy on the story. It was light on journaling, and I felt like I would miss that in the future. So that's what my focus has been. I've been trying to do better at it, trying to keep it in mind. So hopefully I'm going to count on you to hold me accountable to that. So if you see me creating lots of spreads with no words, please remind me this is about the story. Yeah, because I need help sometimes remembering. Okay, so those are all the embellishments I had pulled out. I'm going to add date stamps. So I added one to the 4x6 card, and then I'm going to add the date to the 6x8 page, and also to the bottom of that journal card at the top of the page, because there's lots of room there. And I just kind of triple stamped off to just give it a messy look. And then I was wondering what I was going to do for further embellishment, and I remembered that there was this pack of like rubber shapes, and I was like, that's perfect. These will be the perfect thing to finish out the spread, and there it is, all done. So here are some close-up photos. You can see all the little details. I didn't end up using anything but this collection, so that was nice to use this up from my stash. I hope you've enjoyed this process. I hope you found some inspiration, and maybe you can go find things in your stash to use up too. So thank you so much for watching. I will see you all back here very soon.